We believe we have charted every corner of our world, mapped its deepest trenches and scaled its highest peaks. But what if I told you that there are still places on this Earth that defy our understanding, pockets of our planet that remain shrouded in an unsettling mystery? These are not tales from fiction or folklore, but real, tangible locations where the very laws of nature, as we know them, seem to bend and warp. Here, the familiar hum of our technological world fades into an unnerving silence, and the landscape itself seems to hold its breath, guarding secrets we are not yet meant to comprehend. We have spent centuries meticulously documenting the life that thrives on this planet, yet there are corners where life itself is an anomaly, and where death is forbidden. We have traced the great rivers from their source to the sea, yet there are waterfalls that simply vanish into the earth, their destination a geological enigma. These are the places that remind us of our own limitations, whispers from the planet itself that we have only scratched the surface of its profound and often terrifying complexities. Join me as we journey to the fringes of the known world to explore 5 of the strangest places on Earth. These are not merely curiosities, they are profound challenges to our scientific certainty. They are locations that science, with all its power and precision, still struggles to explain. We will venture into zones of silence, to lakes that turn life to stone, and to the most remote point on the globe, searching for answers in the planet's most persistent and eerie riddles. Our journey begins in the heart of the vast South Pacific Ocean, at a location more remote and isolated than any other on Earth. It is a place known not by a name, but by a designation, Point Nemo. Named after the famous submariner from Jules Verne's fiction, this oceanic pole of inaccessibility is the point on the ocean's surface farthest from any land. To be here is to be utterly alone. The nearest solid ground is over 2,688 kilometers away in any direction. In fact, the closest human beings are often not on Earth at all, but orbiting above us in the International Space Station. This profound isolation has made Point Nemo the designated graveyard for our celestial ambitions. Decommissioned satellites and spacecraft are deliberately guided here to their final resting place, plunging into the depths to avoid endangering populated areas. It is a silent, submerged museum of human exploration, home to the remnants of over 100 pieces of space debris. One might imagine it as a place of absolute stillness, a watery void untouched by the pulse of life. But even here, in the loneliest place on our planet, there are whispers of the unexplained, echoes from the deep that have startled the few who monitor this desolate region. In 1997, oceanographers detected a sound emanating from the vicinity of Point Nemo. It was a powerful, ultra-low frequency noise, louder than any known animal call, and it was given a name, the bloop. For years, its origin was a profound mystery, fueling speculation of a colossal, undiscovered sea creature lurking in the abyssal dark. While science later attributed the sound to the cracking of an icequake in Antarctica, the eerie legend of Point Nemo persists. It remains a place that reminds us that even in total isolation, in the planet's most empty quarter, there are forces at play we can barely begin to comprehend. Far to the north, nestled within the Arctic Circle, lies an archipelago of stark, frozen beauty, Svalbard. Here, we find the world's northernmost settlement, a town called Longyearbyen. In this place of perpetual twilight and biting cold, humanity clings to a fragile existence against the elements. But it is not the polar bears that roam the streets, or the 6 months of darkness that make this town so peculiar. It is a law, simple and chilling in its implication. It is illegal to die in Longyearbyen. This is not a matter of local superstition, but one of grim, scientific necessity. The ground here is permafrost, a permanently frozen layer of soil, ice, and rock. Anything buried within it does not decompose in the conventional sense. Instead, it is perfectly preserved, locked in a state of icy suspension. In the 1950s, the town authorities made a startling discovery. The bodies of miners who had perished in the 1918 influenza pandemic, buried in the local cemetery, were not only preserved, but still contained live samples of the deadly virus. The realization was terrifying. The cemetery was a potential repository for ancient lethal pathogens, a microbial time bomb, waiting beneath the frost. The implications of this law are deeply unsettling. The terminally ill, or the elderly who are nearing the end of their lives, are gently, but firmly, required to leave. They are flown to the Norwegian mainland to live out their final days. The small cemetery has not accepted a new resident for over 70 years. It stands as a silent, frozen monument to a time before this strange rule was enacted. Longyearbyen is a community forced into a constant, surreal dance with mortality, a place where the final act of life must be performed elsewhere, lest the frozen ground give up the ghosts of plagues past. We travel now to the dense ancient forests of Minnesota, in the United States, to judge C.R. Magny State Park. Here, the Brule River flows, carving its path through rugged volcanic rock on its way to the Great Lake Superior. About 2.5 kilometers before it reaches its destination, the river encounters a remarkable geological feature. The water splits at a rocky outcrop. One side of the cascade tumbles down a 2-step stone drop and continues its journey as a river should. The other side, however, does something that has baffled scientists and visitors for generations. It vanishes. This western stream plunges into a deep cylindrical pothole in the rock, a chasm known locally as the Devil's Kettle, and is never seen again. For decades, researchers have tried to solve this seemingly simple puzzle. Where does the water go? They have poured brightly colored dyes into the kettle, hoping to see the telltale hues emerge downstream in the Brule or out in Lake Superior. They have thrown in objects with trackers like ping-pong balls and GPS devices, expecting them to reappear somewhere, anywhere, but nothing ever does. The dye disappears, the objects are lost, and half of a river simply ceases to exist. The volume of water that enters the kettle is immense, a powerful and constant torrent. Logic dictates it must have an outlet. The prevailing theories suggest an underground river system or a complex network of lava tubes that eventually drain into Lake Superior, far below the surface. But no evidence has ever confirmed this. Every attempt to map this subterranean plumbing has failed. It is as if the earth has opened its mouth and is drinking from the river. The Devil's Kettle remains one of nature's greatest magic tricks, a place where a river flows into a hole and disappears into a mystery. Deep within the arid expanse of the Mapimi Biosphere Reserve in Mexico, there lies a patch of desert that seems to operate under its own set of rules. It is known as La Zona del Silencio, the Zone of Silence. This remote and desolate landscape earned its name in the 1970s, when a test missile launched from a U.S. military base veered inexplicably off course and crashed here. When the recovery team arrived, they discovered their equipment was failing. Radios would not transmit, compass needles spun erratically, and clocks seemed to slow. They had stumbled into a dead zone, an area where radio waves are seemingly absorbed by the very air itself. This eerie phenomenon is not its only peculiarity. The Zone of Silence is rich in magnetic ore, and the ground creates powerful localized magnetic anomalies that disrupt communication signals. But the stories that emanate from this place go far beyond simple magnetic interference. Visitors and locals have reported strange glowing orbs dancing on the horizon, unidentified flying objects descending from the sky, and encounters with mysterious humanoid figures who appear from nowhere and vanish just as quickly. The area is also known for its unusually high rate of meteorite falls, with the ground littered with ancient space rocks. Scientists have studied the zone, attributing the radio silence to the high concentration of magnetite and uranium in the Earth, which creates a natural Faraday cage. Yet, this does not fully account for the breadth of strange events reported here. Why are meteorites so drawn to this specific patch of desert? What explains the consistent, detailed reports of strange lights and otherworldly beings? The Zone of Silence sits on the same parallel, the 27th parallel north, as the Bermuda Triangle and the Pyramids of Giza, a fact that enthusiasts of the esoteric find deeply significant. It remains a place where science and myth collide, a silent magnetic vortex of high strangeness. Our final destination takes us to the Great Rift Valley in northern Tanzania, to the shores of a body of water so hostile, it feels like a landscape from another world. This is Lake Natron. Its waters are not blue but a haunting spectral red, stained by the salt-loving microorganisms that are among the only living things that can endure its lethal chemistry. The lake is a hypersaline, alkaline cauldron. Its pH can reach over 10.5, almost as alkaline as ammonia, and its temperatures can soar to 60 degrees Celsius. This is not a place for life as we know it. The lake is fed by mineral-rich hot springs, which leach a unique compound called natron, a mixture of sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate, into the water. This is the same substance the ancient Egyptians used in their mummification rituals to dry out and preserve the dead. And here at Lake Natron it performs a similar, horrifying function on any creature unfortunate enough to perish in its waters. Birds and bats that misjudge their flight and fall into the lake are not consumed or decomposed. Instead, they are calcified. The water preserves them perfectly, turning their bodies into eerie, stone-like statues. They wash ashore as calcified effigies, frozen in their final living moments, a bird with its wings outstretched, a bat with its fangs bared. The shoreline is a macabre gallery of these petrified creatures, a surreal and silent testament to the lake's deadly power. While some extremophile fish and flamingos have adapted to the less caustic areas, Lake Natron remains a stark reminder that on our planet, there are environments so extreme, they can stop life in its tracks and encase it in stone for eternity. We have journeyed from the loneliest point in our oceans to a town where death is an exile, from a river that vanishes into the earth to a desert that swallows our signals, and finally, to a lake that transforms life into stone. Each of these locations presents a unique challenge to our perception of the world. They are anomalies, glitches in the matrix of our planetary systems, places where the rules we have come to rely on simply do not apply. They are the Earth's persistent, unanswered questions. For every phenomenon we can explain with geology or chemistry, another layer of mystery seems to present itself. A strange sound, an inexplicable encounter, a physical impossibility. These places fuel our imagination, but more importantly, they foster our humility. They serve as a powerful check on our human certainty, reminding us that the planet beneath our feet is a far more complex, dynamic, and mysterious entity than we often give it credit for. We are explorers on a world we have only just begun to know, and so we are left to wonder, what other secrets lie hidden in the deep abysses, the frozen wastes, or the sun-scorched deserts of our home? The pursuit of knowledge is a noble and endless endeavor, but perhaps the greatest truth these strange places teach us is that some mysteries may not be meant for us to solve. Even in this age of information and scientific enlightenment, our world still holds its secrets close, whispering to us from the shadows that there will always be realms that defy explanation.